Hi, just before you jump into us game showcase, I just want to say that the episode did run for like 2 hours, so we've split it into two. The second part should be coming tomorrow or the day after. The link will be in the description when we update it. And just a couple of things. I know there's an issue where my voice is louder than the other people. Sorry about that. But we're still working on fine tuning everything for the podcast. And also, we notice there's a little bit of delay with Ryan. It's like he lives in Australia or something. It's just the internet. It's rubbish. But also, if you like the videos, please like and subscribe. I keep saying it that we really appreciate it, and we do, and it gives us more motivation to carry on doing what we're doing. We are currently still waiting to get new equipment and things. Like I'm going to get a new camera up for the next couple of weeks because this is awful, and yeah, I've had enough of it. So we are slowly getting in better. We're working on editing a lot more. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the video.
Hi everyone, welcome to the SkyPunk Media Podcast. This is episode 4. I am your host Ryan Clark, along with my fellow comrades Mr. Jonny Travis, Mr. Troy McJohnson, and you've probably noticed that we have a brand new person in the corner of the screen, and I'm happy to introduce the newest member of the SkyPunk Media team, Mr. Colin Nimmo. How you doing, Colin? You all right?
I'm all right. Yourselves?
Yeah, not too bad. Doing good. But yeah, obviously we're excited for you to obviously join the team. Obviously, just want to ask you a quick few questions, obviously to give our viewers a little bit of insight into you. Just wonder what your all-time favorite gaming console is.
Favorite all-time gaming console probably need to be the PS2. Again, just it was the one that really stood out. The amount of games on that is just incredible. You know, the games like your follow-ups to your Metal Gear Solids, Tony Hawk's, all these kind of things. Like, it's just the amount of games was just breathtaking, and I still play and love that console to this day.
Oh, great choice indeed. And also, just wanted to know just one other question. What was do you have a favorite game or game series of all time at all? I know that's quite a broad question.
No, I'd probably go for game series, and it's probably the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver series. Obviously, the first one was on the PlayStation 1. That was the one that caught my attention. I know there was ones previous to that. But that, and then the follow-ups in PS2 just got me absolutely hooked. And I'm still sitting here to this day trying to wish into existence a remake.
Well, we can only hope, and hopefully that dream does come true for you. But yeah, no, it's obviously great insight. Obviously, thank you very much for joining us here today. Obviously, it's quite a big day as we are doing our first ever video game showcase. Now, obviously, last year was a year. It's a year to forget, but we're kind of hoping with this we'll finally put the final nail in the coffin for 2020 and go through some of the games that have been striking in this past 12 months. So basically what we've done is we've gone through, we've got a number of awards to give out. We've been throwing around different games and we've voted, we've been mingling, discussing, and we do have winners for each awards, and we're going to go through each of them and discuss some of the games that were voted for, and just to announce which of our games have won these prestigious awards. So but yeah, have we got any predictions to begin with, guys? Any games that you think, like these could be a clean sweep? Because we've seen some awards where some games have had some clean sweeps. Any predictions?
Cyberpunk
Game of the Year, Cyberpunk.
every award, hands down. It's gonna be a 20-minute episode.
It's actually a contender for best soundtrack.
It is. It's. I've got to say, the music was very good. But yeah,
It's not as good as I thought it was going to be, though.
A dynasty of a game in 2020, the true gem of last year. But anyway, let's get on with the first award. So quite a strong one to begin with, which is best gameplay. So obviously this is specifically involving game mechanics, how the game plays, kind of what we thought about it. Now, we did have a couple of notable nominations. So the first nomination I can see in here was Watch Dogs Legion, which was actually voted for by Colin. Now, Colin, I understand that you've played Watch Dogs quite a bit. What did you think of it from a gameplay perspective?
Like, I thought it was brilliant. It was solid enough. It's really just built on probably the best parts of the Watch Dogs 2. They've took that and kind of ran with it. And I think just the sheer fact that they've came out with something so ambitious to say that you can basically recruit anybody in the world and bring them into your team just made the game so different to anything that was kicking about during last year. Because most games that have been about, you're generally a central protagonist or a character you create and you run with it. You don't really ever get the choice of what team you want to put together as much as this one allowed you to do it. And it kept it fresh and interesting for the missions going ahead as well.
Yeah, I think it's certainly a rather ambitious idea, and it's from what they've done, it looks like that they have played that through quite well. Yeah, certainly a strong game that came out at the end of last year. So I can see your reasons for nominating it. I can see also from here we've also got for myself, I picked Demon's Souls mainly because I know that Demon's Souls is a remake, but I feel like the mechanics from what I've seen, it's my first experience, and I just love the difficulty scale, how it kind of increased over time. So certainly a reason for my vote. For Troy, I can see that you had 2 picks. Specifically, you went for Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and more importantly, Immortals Phoenix Rising. Obviously, this is kind of a more recent one, but what were your thoughts on that?
It's an absolute gorgeous game. Just when you're in there, I think it's just fantastic. There's plenty of variety in there with the combat systems, and it's just so enjoyable to play.
I changed my votes.
Hey.
Already.
Yeah, probably, mate.
What? I mean, I don't know if I can choose. I mean, like, were you going to go for Immortals?
To be honest, because we didn't have it on the list of nominees, it just totally escaped my mind, even though I've been addicted to it for the last week or two. So no, we'll leave it as it is. But yeah, good shout by Troy anyway.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's certainly I haven't unfortunately played it just yet, but I have seen quite a bit of footage, and I do think it's a worthy nominee.
Don't do it. You lose hours of your life
and achieve nothing.
I've still got Spider-Man, both the remaster and Miles Morales still to play. So it's I've been going through them gradually, but yeah. And I think the final nomination I think we had from Jonny, which was Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is certainly a game that is certainly going to come up a lot. Do you have any comments on the gameplay at all, Jonny, from your perspective?
It was all right.
I knew we were going to be like this.
I'm bringing Crispy into reviews, one of his friends. I thought it was amazing because the problem was for Square for a long time with Final Fantasy. They've been struggling with the battle systems. We've had so many variations of the battle system, and it hasn't gone so well with fans over the last 3 or 4 games. They've struggled with it because they're trying to stray away from that old turn-based combat, which everybody loves, so why do that? And then they've been trying to implement a more action, fast combat-based system, and with Final Fantasy VII Remake, they've kind of hit the nail on the head with having both implemented at the same time. So you got your hack and slash while you're in there, but then, as you know, Ryan, because you've played it, you can slow down time to like a ridiculously slow speed, and then plan your attacks and abilities with different teammates, and just give you that kind of same turn-based feel along with it. But yeah, I thought they did it really well. I've got a few issues with it. Like I was telling you, when you switch to a certain character, it's like the AI knows that you've switched to a different character, and it'll just start pounding on a different character. So you've got to like switch to your supports, do everything really quick, and then go back to your main tank. Because yeah, it's just a few little nitpicky things, and I think they might polish it up for part 2, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, definitely. I do like the way it kind of blends in all these other things like bits from Arkham Asylum, like I say, keeping that turn-based. So certainly, yeah, I think it could do with a bit of perfecting, but I can see why you chose that. But I can confirm that in terms of this, we did have a unanimous winner, and I confirmed that the award for best gameplay goes to The Last of Us Part 2. Certainly, with this, I think from certainly an upgrade from the first game in terms of this, and I can see obviously this was voted for by Colin, Jonny, and myself. Colin, did you have any comments on the winner at all? What did you think of The Last of Us Part 2?
I mean, for all the issues I've got with the game personally, the game itself, how it's presented, how it plays, it was such an upgrade to the first one. It was stunning. The wee tweaks they added into it as well, like your prone for Ellie and things like that. It just took the game to a whole new level, and it was an amazing game to play, especially in this day and age when you get a lot of broken games coming out. It was great to just have a game that was so solid and run with.
Ooh, shots fired.
No names.
No
names. Use your imagination.
Yeah.
Who else voted for this game, by the way? Did I vote for Last of Us 2?
Yeah, you did as well.
Oh, did I?
I know me and you, Jonny. I know me and you. We've had we've had a long conversation regarding this. I think the one thing that we agreed on was that the gameplay is just certain things that happened with it. Like I think you remember when we discussed that, one of the things you mentioned was the certain degree of things that were implemented. Like even, for example, the ricochet of certain things, even when you had an enemy, like you got hold of an enemy and you had a gun to their head, but if you didn't have any bullets, you could click it and click the gun, and the enemy would know that you had no bullets, and then they would counter you. Yeah. It's just little things like that. But certainly, I mean, for yourself, Jonny, I'll say how was your experience, but how strictly was your gameplay experience?
The Last of Us Part 2, really, it was challenging. I'm going to give you that. It was really challenging. Like, I had to, I don't know if people call this cheating, but I had to put the accessibility option on to slow down time by pressing analog sticks in, I think, because because you've always changed the environment and there's so many points of entry and everything like that, and you've got so many enemies, I just had to slow it down so I could have a quick look around and see what I was going to plan out and do it like that instead of just doing it in real time, because I struggled with it, to be honest, moving around and things.
Yeah, it certainly had a lot, and certainly the accessibility is something we will be bringing up a little later. So, but yeah, I'd say certainly a worthy winner of gameplay. I'll give it that. So, congratulations to Naughty Dog and the team for best gameplay. Woo! So we're on to our next award, which is best visual presentation. So we've had a number of games in terms of, I think this year we've had an added degree of quality and also use of visual presentation skills, whether it be color palettes or the way that people are presented, even the way that people look. We've had a much increased degree. Now, we had a few games discussed. Obviously, The Last of Us Part 2 did come up again. I could see that both Colin and Jonny did vote for this. I can completely see why.
I've forgotten my votes, so it's all a surprise to me, by the way.
That's all right. But it's fine. I was like, what? So, but yeah, no, certainly we had you guys must have seen like an increased upgrade from what we had with The Last of Us being designed for the PS3, and then once again Naughty Dog pushing the limits of what could be done in the game for the PS4. And certainly that I think you'll agree that there was an added degree of detail there.
Oh, it was stunning. It was to me, that's the closest thing to next gen that we had on the current gen systems, to be honest. It were really gorgeous. I mean, it was just a little thing. The world looked amazing. I just wanted to, if it were a bit more open world and stuff like that, to be honest, I could play an open world game just in that environment. I mean, it had gone so well from the first one. Yeah, Colin, what do you think about it? I thought it would be gorgeous.
I mean, don't get me wrong, the world was absolutely amazing and so easy to get lost in, but even just the visuals on the characters themselves as well. I mean, every scene, even though it was flowing from gameplay into like a cutscene so seamlessly, like you could see all the details on their faces, so you felt the emotion that they were all going through at that time as well, and it took it to a whole new level compared to the PS3 version of Last of Us. But again, like that, they pushed the PS4 to its limit the same way they did with the PS3.
Yeah, I completely agree on that one. And certainly, like I say, the proof is in the pudding, and you only have to just see for yourself. And certainly, I think with the PS5, I know that with most of these games getting an upgrade, I can only imagine what Naughty Dog might have in store for the PS5 for if people have, I wanted to see what they could tweak. But obviously, we'll see what happens. Nothing's set in stone, but certainly, I think it'll be worthy to see what they will do for that. The other games that were mentioned, I personally voted for Miles Morales. I think certainly from seeing the gameplay trailers, loved its kind of wintry theme. I think it also the kind of the stark contrast in kind of bright imagery from flames and the powers, and using those extra technologies in there to just make it look seamless and spotless. Just looking around and seeing the amount of detail that was there. Obviously, this strictly speaking about the PS5 release, but I certainly thought it was certainly beautiful. The only other nomination, which is by Troy and Jonny, is Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I can completely understand why this would go by, because it is purely stunning. Let's start with Troy. Troy, what were your kind of opinions on the visual presentation of Flight Simulator?
Yeah, I've just noticed that you pronounced Morales right.
I know.
Yeah, Flight Sim. Yeah, like I say, it's absolutely stunning, and it's got that level of realism that's getting pushed. People are pushing it to that next level. I know a few pilots are modding it and introducing things that make it even more ultra realistic, and it's just fantastic. It's good to learn in.
I think when you think about it from the scale of the map, I mean, you're talking about something that's thousands of times more than any sort of game map. I think it's something like
the scale's phenomenal. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and just to think, obviously, that's just a small amount. It's something that could be perfected every single day, and seeing that detail, even in just the detail inside the planes, it really makes you feel, and especially with a simulator experience and being close to it, it's the most immersive thing. I mean, I know, Jonny, you're quite the fanatic of flight sim, and have been on scheduled away a couple of flights. But yeah, how would you comment on that as well?
I've dabbled on it a few times, the odd hour here and there, I know, I'm obsessed with it, me. I could play it right now. It's magnificent, but I've got some figures on how big the game actually is. The actual world, because it's street, you have to play it online because it's just too big to have on your computer, because the whole world is 2 petabytes of data.
Whew.
Which is 2 million gigabytes of information, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't even know how they managed it. I know there's a lot of stuff they've done with ping maps and stuff, but 2 petabytes, it's absolutely insane. But me and Troy, we've played it for hours and hours, but we still can't wrap our heads around that we can just go anywhere around the world and it's in detail. But they keep adding more details. I mean, they've added an America pack where they've redone America and done that. Now they're doing a UK one and a Japan one. So it's just they're adding to that detail, but it's just stupid. We just can't comprehend that we can just go anywhere, and we still just fly from Leeds to London all the time.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? But you got to understand they've been making this game for over a decade. So.
Oh yeah, it's been long awaited, but it's absolutely insane the amount of detail they've gone into, and even with the clouds, they've got like 3 different layers of cloud systems, and it's got. I mean, when you're up there in sky and you go to third person, you see sun setting or coming up on their horizon, and it just makes you stand back. And the amount of screenshots and stuff, like when I'm coming out, if you look on my review on website, there's an image where I took when I was coming out of a storm cloud, but then it were all nice and pretty on the other side. It were, I don't know, it looked like a movie screenshot. It were absolutely insane, but really impressed with it.
Yeah, no.
For hours, so let's move on.
I was going to say, the one thing I will say, I think luckily, because obviously Microsoft have the ample amount of data centers for all of their corporate products as well. I think they've certainly got the infrastructure to manage and maintain those systems for multiple users, not just thousands but millions. So I think that capacity there to facilitate that certainly helps instill the possibility of this coming about. And yeah, I mean, just seeing from you guys, it looks beautiful. But there is one title that was considered more beautiful than the others. So I can reveal that the winner for best visual presentation goes to Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima. And to be fair, I don't blame this. I mean, just seeing, even just from the trailers, just seeing how gorgeous this landscape is, just seeing, even just like the typical eastern settings, like the cherry blossom just floating in the wind, down to the rawness of the battle scenes, the dark and dinginess. It's just, there's such a contrast with it that it's just gorgeous, whether it be in beauty or whether it be in beast war. I enjoyed that. So, and obviously I can see also that Colin and Troy also voted for this. So I'll quickly go to Troy. Troy, what were your thoughts on Ghost of Tsushima from visually?
Just visually, from what I've seen on YouTube, I watched some gameplay. I've watched some of the cutscenes as well, and it just looks absolutely beautiful. I tell you what, Sony are forcing me to buy a PlayStation with all these exclusives. They're pushing me.
Yeah,
a couple of week, and I'll have one.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, let us know when you do. I mean, I've got a copy myself, so but I'm still going through it at the moment. So, but once I'm done, or if you're too eager, I can understand if you want to buy a copy now. But if you can hold out, I'll see if I can mail it up to you or something.
And you've got two people up here waiting to play it, so I get it sent up.
I'll drive down to you to pick it up.
I'll have to flip a coin between you guys. But yeah, also I can see, obviously, Colin, you also voted for this. Guessing you had similar thoughts to Troy?
Yeah, much the same. I mean, I spent well over 60 hours on this game, and it was just going through the game. It is just visually stunning. I mean, the map split into, I think it's 3 different parts, and each part felt unique. There was an area where it's a lot darker, muddy. There's kind of snowy areas. Like, every part just felt amazing. The attention to detail they put into this game it just shows how much love and care they put into it. Especially as well with all the different modes. You could play it in black and white, so it felt like a proper old school kind of Japanese movie, samurai movie. It gives you that feel constantly, and it was just getting lost in it was just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm still way behind on mine, but I've certainly your words, are already instilling that I'm in for a treat. So, but yeah, no, I completely agree. So yeah, well done to Ghost of Tsushima. I think that's a worthy winner. So now we're going to go on to best soundtrack now. With soundtrack, obviously, the music can sometimes make the game. It's not to say that it's
it can always make the game.
Yeah, sometimes
make or break the game.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine like some of the games that you remember and the music from it. For me, I did my Undertale review, and yeah, I'm still listening to Toby Fox's music from this, like, constantly, even though it's chip music. It's like stuff that gets stuck to your head and you like can't get it out, and that's precisely it. Sometimes there are just soundtracks that will just stick with you, and I can completely understand that. So yeah, we had a couple of nominees obviously within here. So the first, obviously, we had another returning nominee in terms of Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was voted for by Jonny. And obviously I didn't vote for it because I had other options, but I can completely understand where you're coming from. Care to comment, Jonny, on what you thought of the music?
I thought it went really well because obviously it's a nostalgic title for everybody. So, and it had probably one of the best gaming soundtracks well known on the PlayStation 1. So we all know most of the tune. Well, if you played it, everybody knows the tunes and things like. Actually, Ryan, I think even players like you who didn't even play it until the remake kind of knew some of their tracks, like the Sephiroth tune and things like that. So they had the task of just making it orchestral and bring it to life. But I think they recorded about 8.5 hours of music for it, and the fact is that they did a little fancy thing with layers, but they layered every single track in the game. So as it's going from action scenes to something else, I can like take out hi-hats, take out the bass or the drums, and just keep it flowing in different things. And you don't really notice it. It's like a subconscious level, but it really adds to what's going on screen. But overall, it were really impressive. Obviously, it's not an original score because it's taking it from the original, but if they didn't take the original music and do it up, it'd have got some backlash. I mean, it's already got a bit of backlash from the story, which we'll talk about later maybe, or another podcast, but overall, the music I thought were astonishing for it, which is where my vote came from.
Yeah, I can completely agree on that. So I certainly, like I say, with the layers, I think that just, it seems like they went all out from the music that we saw from the original, and just kind of like how it was trying to use the base of, like, it was kind of similar to its old style Final Fantasy games where it's all synth based, so kind of like a Super Nintendo, but they really turned these songs into these orchestral pieces, and they just blasted to you. Even the drum and bass cover of the battle theme, when you're doing the squats, I absolutely love that. For some reason, I never thought I would enjoy that kind of cover. So yeah, I can completely understand why that would be worthy. Can see a few other nominations here. So I can see Troy went for Journey, even though I know that's a 2012 game. I can see that it was released recently for Steam, so I can completely understand that. I can also see Colin also voted for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Obviously, I can completely understand that as well. Obviously, most of the songs come. Yeah, most of the songs have been. So you had like Lagwagon, Vandals. You had Goldfinger, like that whole kind of rocky, punky bit of rap in there. It's like a flashback to the noughties, essentially. So I can completely understand that. But I can see also, Colin, you voted for Last of Us Part 2. And I can completely understand your vote as well. And I say I completely understand because it's just... Sorry. But yeah, no, Gustavo Santanelli obviously coming back for Part 2. What were your impressions of his pieces in Part 2?
I felt like he was just continuing on from where he left off in the first game. I mean, I could listen to the soundtrack of the first game over and over again. It was just amazing. I don't feel like the game put enough of the music into the second one as did the first one, but overall the music that was there just hit all the right notes at the right time, and it just kind of engrossed you that bit more to the game. But him coming back was just he just carried on, and thanks to him being in that, it made the game that bit more special as well.
I agree. It
Can I
felt like
jump in?
kind of all... Yeah, go on. Yeah,
yeah. The music in it, because I did think about voting for this, but I did feel like compared to the first one, I thought he'd stepped down a bit with the music. Maybe, like Colin said, maybe it's because it weren't implemented enough into the game, because in the first game it was so... It grabbed you, and it was, as soon as those opening credits come up, and every time that tune came in, I don't know what it's called, but you know, the main acoustic or whatever it is.
It's called The Last of Us.
Is it just called The Last of Us? Well, there you go.
Yeah, I've got the soundtrack. I've got it on my phone.
But yeah, I feel like it really stood out in the first game. But in the second game, when I try and think back, I can't really think of the music at all. It was just so drowned out with everything else in the game. But like I said, Colin reiterated, I don't think it was implemented enough. I think that's why I didn't vote for it.
I think the game being bigger as well kind of hurt it. I mean, the fact that the first game was only 15 hours, like at the end of every kind of chapter, there was that music, and it gave you a pause to like take in what had just happened. But with the second one, it was a bit too fast paced. That there was only a few areas where it did hit, but when it hit, it was like, this is exactly what I wanted from this game.
Yeah, I think, certainly. When hearing over his pieces, I think he certainly went with the darker tone. And I think definitely, because for me with the soundtrack, there are some absolutely great shots. Like The Last of Us, there's like 6 different renditions of the main theme, all gone. There's like 4 different renditions, and all of them, like Jonny says, they kind of distinctly grab. Whereas the other one, I heard some tracks that were redone in this darker tone, and they were beautiful. But again, I can't remember, which is a shame. But certainly hearing the soundtrack, I can completely understand why you would there we go again. Why would you pick that nomination? So
is it on Spotify by any chance?
I'm not too sure. The original,
the first one is, yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got it.
And there's also the Left Behind one, which if there's any versions from the first game that you haven't heard, they were put in the volume 2 with the Left Behind music. So yeah, I'd recommend them both. Really good.
Added it.
And And before we announce our winner, there is one note that I want soundtrack, which is Doom Eternal. Obviously, I'm quite a lover of metal music, and for me, Mick Gordon's compositions, those kind of ever since these kind of prog metal's gone into the gent movement, and we've had down-tuned guitars. Certainly, that's been kind of the big thing over the past couple of years. And certainly Mick Gordon's way of trying to bring that kind of heaviness back to Doom. Like when he did it in the original reboot, it was, it grabbed me. I was like, this is awesome. But Gordon certainly did a good job on this. But it wasn't the winner. And I can reveal that the award for Best Soundtrack goes to Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Certainly a worthy track. And obviously I was voted for by myself, Troy, and Jonny. So yeah, I'd say I'd give this to.
I don't remember. I just don't remember.
This is the curveball in the award. Yeah, I mean, do you guys care to comment, or do you want me to take the reign? Because I've heard quite a bit of the soundtrack.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's brilliant in it, and I'm sure I've not played the game, but I can only speak for what I procedurally do. Is I always listen to game scores, regardless of whether I played them or not. And I've played the first Ori. I'm about 60-70% through that game, and the music on that is exactly the same. It's just fantastic. It tells the journey. It's quite oriental in style, and it's just beautiful at every corner.
I think for myself, I do exactly the same as you, Troy. I go through, and for me, I was tempted to vote for Final Fantasy VII, and I was really close to doing it because of the orchestral pieces. But when I went through, I played it earlier just before we come together today, and for me, there was just something about Ori that it was just something a little bit extra. It was like an X factor that I couldn't really grab onto, but it sounds so fluently. Its use of pitch and the way that it just effortlessly just swoons you into this journey, and based with the game's kind of dimly lit setting for kind of the main platforming sections, I certainly think it was just that little bit higher for me, and I think it's certainly a worthy winner there. So well done, Ori, your second entry.
I've got one game I wanted to get in, but I ain't listened to the soundtrack yet, and Troy's heard of it. The Pathless. I don't know if you've heard of it, Ryan, Colin.
Yeah, Pathless. Yeah,
I have heard of it. Yeah, I'm just trying to visualize it though. But we've had to go through so many games in the past couple of days. It's like
fast becoming my favorite composer. This Austin Wintry.
Yeah, from podcast. It went into detail on his podcast about Alana's podcast about how they manage the music, and I haven't listened to any music because I don't want to spoil it for when I play the game because it looks gorgeous. But it's just the fact that he was saying the different levels of music, they've done the layering thing again, and it looks like it changes depending where you are in the game, what kind of bosses you've completed in the game, what items you have, and things like that. So it all varies, and it all like works its way around your character and your story.
The various trigger points on you, which changes the music.
Yeah, it looks like it's reaching a new level. It's really about. Obviously, we can't comment on it fully and we can't vote for it because we haven't listened or played it yet. We're waiting for that.
Well, certainly, maybe it'll come up in next year's, or if we do a different report, maybe we could highlight some work. We'll see what happens. The future's bright. Let's.
It'll come up again.
Yeah, definitely. We'll jump into the next category anyway. So the next one is for the best voice actor or actress. We had a small selection of from people this year. But certainly there were a couple of actors and actresses that certainly brought to our attention. So the first one I'm going to give to Troy, which is Shirami Lee, who played Female V in Cyberpunk 2077. Now, I know that Shirami's also been involved with Persona 5. She played Makoto, I think, Najima, and she was, she has such a personality about her. But what were your thoughts, Troy, on her performance?
Yeah, I can't speak to any other work because this is the first time I've heard her. But in I don't even want to say it, Cyberpunk. Yeah, I thought she did a really good job. She's so natural in that role, and she's got a bit of a sass to her, hasn't she?
No,
And,
definitely.
Yeah, I think and her acting range as well. I enjoyed that. I think she got quite a range on her.
Yeah, I'll admit there were some points in it where I started to get some like slight. I felt like there were certain
Way up.
like
He's going.
She ready to that is, but oh no. Let's try that again. There's moments where I thought that she sounded a little bit like Ashley Johnson, like Ellie, which actually leads me into, but obviously not a direct correlation. But this actually goes into the next vote, which is Ashley Johnson as Ellie in The Last of Us Part 2. So I can see that both yourself, Troy, and Jonny voted for this. Jonny, I know that we've talked quite in depth about this. What do you think of Ashley's performance in round 2? What were your thoughts?
I'm upset. I thought she was going to win. I'm upset right now. I think I know I might have won, but yeah. I mean, Ashley Johnson, I've seen her in a lot of things, but in The Last of Us, well, both The Last of Us 1, 2, and Left Behind, she's been phenomenal, and the fact that she hasn't won an award for either of them is completely mind-blowing to me. I just don't understand it at all, so I feel like she deserved this a lot because...
Did she get a bit of bad press for something? I can't remember.
No, that's the other one you're thinking of. That's the other one.
Right.
We'll get onto that, I'm sure.
I'm pretty sure Ashley has won an award for Left Behind. I think it was the BAFTAs.
Really? Oh, I didn't.
I'm pretty sure she won an award because I remember seeing a clip for her accepting an award. It was definitely for Left Behind because I know that it was distinctly for that particular standalone. So, but yeah, I can completely agree. I think I absolutely love her performance in the first game. I think Left Behind was that standalone, and I think it was more about the expansion of Ellie. And because that standalone is so short anyway, there wasn't really enough time to kind of explore it. And certainly with The Last of Us Part 2, I think she still gave some great performances. It's just one of our other nominees seemed to be more impactful. But before we go into that, we do have the final nomination, which was chosen between myself and Colin, which was Daisuke Tsuji, who plays Jin in Ghost of Tsushima. Certainly, obviously, I know, Colin, obviously you've played a lot more of Ghost than I have. What were your thoughts on Daisuke's performance? Apologies for the pronunciation, of course. Sorry, I'm bad with names.
I'm not going to butcher it, but for hearing a different voice, because normally a lot of people, and probably the internet as well, maybe more, and it's Troy, and there's a lot of people out there. Nolan North, sorry, and it was so unique to hear a new voice and the way he carried the story, as well as the kind of emotion that he had to go through. I just thought he was an absolute standout, and it was just like a breath of fresh air, like having somebody so new just come in and capture what this game was trying to capture.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with you as well. I think obviously I don't want to go too much into spoilers, but let's just say there's a moment of defiance. Let's just say that. And even though obviously I don't know whether there's stuff after that that'll be better, but certainly for me, I remember seeing that scene and I was kind of like just taking a little bit back from it. I just kind of was like, oh, something's happening here. It zoned you in, and I can completely. It's certainly that emotion, as you mentioned, definitely heard it in there, and I'm very excited to see if Jin is encountering any more of these things in the future. So, but yeah, no, I'm completely on board with what you have to say, and I completely agree on that. So, but of course, we do have a winner, and guessing by the previous one, you've probably guessed who is the winner, and I can reveal that the award for Best Voice Actress goes to Laura Bailey with her performance as Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. That was voted, of course, by myself, Colin, and Jonny. Don't know if that's a surprise for you, Jonny.
It's not a surprise at all. It is well deserved. Well deserved, though. But yeah, I knew it would come in, to be honest. That's one of my predictions that I had before the show. But yeah, definitely deserved it after her performance, and especially all the controversy that came out after the game's release with the backlash from fans, which was completely disgusting, to be honest. But I thought her acting skills in it were perfect. She's amazing in everything. She's been in so much, and she doesn't disappoint at all. But it was a tough call between her and Ashley, like it were at the Game Awards. So putting them both in for an award, which it seems to be happening in every single award ceremony, it's a really tough one between them.
No, I completely agree. And what were your thoughts, Colin? What did you think of Laura's performance, and how that contrasted against Ashley's? Obviously, tough competition when you've got like I say, that kind of dual protagonist kind of feel to it.
Yeah, I mean, I felt sorry for Laura. She got a lot of kind of grief with this role. She definitely didn't deserve it, and it was how she came into the story and how she's, as Jonny says, great in everything, but she had to compete with two actors that have already kind of solidified their characters through the previous games, and like come in and she just kind of raised the bar. They raised the bar, but she joined them up there. She didn't feel like she was getting carried. She felt like she was a mainstay of that cast, and for the role that she played, I thought she'd done it brilliantly.
Yeah, I do know that that Troy and Laura have been involved in some projects before. Both of them were the key protagonists in Atlas's Catherine. Really great game, puzzle with kind of mature story. Yeah, absolutely.
At first, I thought it did mean you. I was like, what?
So I was like, really? When was it?
Yeah, no, I've loved that game. They've also been involved in Persona 4, and I know that Laura's also been involved with Fruit Baskets, a very popular anime that just got remade either last year or the year before. And certainly she's earned her stripes, and I think she's had these moments where she's played key roles, and I think the way that she portrayed Abby, despite obviously how, kind of my quarrel was about how the story's pictured. When I look at her from a pure presentation standpoint, I think she threw it out the park. There were some really great moments in there that felt that she took full advantage of, and she embraced them and gave it her all. So, please don't tell me I've frozen.
Yeah.
I've frozen, haven't I?
Yeah, but you just managed to get the words out.
You look like Mr. Burns, to be honest. You were just like, excellent, for ages like that.
I'll just wrap just to say, I just think that she,
Oh, your internet is not letting this happen.
No, sorry.
I don't want you to say it.
Yeah.
The internet doesn't want me to give the award to her. Let's just say she took a good time purposely and she did her job.
Move on to the next one because the internet is not having it.
Yeah, actually, we'll take a break just so I can figure out what I can do.
Yeah, good idea.
I think he's trying to say we'll take a break. He's going to sort out his internet, ring up Sky or whatever.
See you in 5.
Yeah, see you in 5.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm going to check on my room.
Hi, and as you can see, Ryan's internet went on him. Shocker, I know. But like I said, I hope you enjoyed part 1. Part 2 is coming tomorrow or the day after, and that is the 12th or the 13th of January. And I will update the link in the description, like I said. But like I said before, if you like the video, please like and subscribe, and follow us socials if you want to keep up with everything that we're posting on his website. But yeah, hope you look forward to part 2.